Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into something fascinating. The crossroads of personal style, public image, and, well, resilience. And we're focusing specifically on Jessie and Delilah Combs, the 18-year-old twin sisters. We're looking at sources that analyze their very talked about Halloween appearance recently.
Exactly. And the crucial thing here, right from the start, is the context. We're examining sources that break down these really confident, glamorous choices they made, choices set against, frankly, an incredibly difficult and very public situation. Their father, Sean Diddy Combs' recent incarceration.
Yeah, so our goal today isn't just a fashion recap. It's really to unpack how these young women are, maybe strategically, using glamour, and you could almost call it aesthetic armor,
Okay.
to actively shape their own identity, to make sure these really tough external events don't end up defining them in the public eye.
It's a powerful example, almost textbook, of how style can become narrative control. For people in their position, every outfit choice is kind of like putting out a press release, you know?
Okay, so let's start with the visual itself, the actual statement. They went with Dallas Cowboys cheerleader outfits. I mean, that's an iconic look, right? It immediately signals confidence, high energy. But the sources we looked at emphasized they didn't just, pick a costume. They elevated it, made it fashion.
Absolutely. That's the key point. This wasn't just off-the-rack Halloween stuff. The level of detail, according to these sources, really suggests intention, an upgrade. And the standout piece, the thing that added that sort of high-fashion drama, those over-the-knee, shimmering silver boots.
Right, so you have the base uniform, the white miniskirts, the blue halter tops with the stars.
Yeah.
Classic cheerleader. But then, bam, the boots amplify everything. And the whole coordinating glam look. Long, wavy blonde wigs, perfectly matched makeup, that mauve lipstick with the distinct brown liner. It was total synchronicity, a visual of them being this unified front.
And digging into the source material, the intention seems to go beyond just the clothes. Think about the caption they used on social media. Had to bring out our inner cheerleader. That language feels significant, doesn't it? It suggests they're consciously tapping into a specific spirit. You know, that energy and strength you'd need when you're under such intense pressure.
But playing devil's advocate for a second, couldn't this just be, typical celebrity teen fashion, big Halloween look? Are the sources maybe reading a bit too much into it?
That's a fair question, but the timing, I think, is what makes the analysis so compelling. The sources really hammer this point. The juxtaposition is critical. This incredibly glamorous, confident post went live just hours. Literally hours after TMZ published the very first pictures of their father from federal prison, FCI Fort Dix in New Jersey.
Okay. So that's the stark contrast that gives it weight. On one side, you've got the twins dazzling, coordinated, free. And on the other, these images of their dad, 55 years old, looking, well, the sources said noticeably older. Full gray beard, dressed down beanie, sweatshirt, walking the prison yard.
The difference couldn't be clearer. Or you could argue more deliberate. It's like a nonverbal declaration, right? The twins' polished, almost defiant display sends this powerful message without saying a word. Our lives go on. Our future is ours. We're not defined by what's happening over there. They're actively trying to steer the public focus away from the tragedy towards their own path.
So the choice isn't about ignoring the family situation, but about actively managing how it's perceived alongside them, forcing us to see their resilience, not just the trauma surrounding them.
Exactly. And when we talk about that context, we have to acknowledge the sheer weight of what they're dealing with. The sources lay out some really complex trauma: their father's conviction, 2 counts of transportation for prostitution, a 50-month federal sentence.
And this wasn't sudden. The legal battle was long. The sources indicate they supported him for over a year through that whole trial process, which included these really serious charges like racketeering and sex trafficking. And now they're facing the reality that he'll be incarcerated until, at least November 2028.
Yeah. And think about their age. They turn 19 this December. They're handling this huge, incredibly public family crisis right at that critical transition into adulthood, a time when most young people are just figuring out basic independence. So the analysis we're seeing consistently suggests this sophisticated use of style, of glamour. It's way more than just looking good. It feels strategic.
It's acting like that armor we mentioned,
Good.
an aesthetic defense. It gives them a way to control their own story, their public narrative, to carve out a space for themselves that's separate from the negativity and the legal mess associated with the family name right now. It's like they're actively pushing back against the definition the world might try to impose on them.
And to really get where this visible strength comes from, we need to look at their foundations,
Mm,
their support systems. And the most significant one, according to the material we've reviewed, is the legacy of their late mother, Kim Porter. She's consistently described almost like their guiding light.
right. And her loss was just devastating. And it really shapes their current reality, doesn't it? She died so tragically back in 2018, only 47, from pneumonia, which meant, crucially, that their father was their only living parent through this entire legal storm and public fallout.
Adds such a profound layer of complexity, that dual burden,
Mm.
losing their mother and then this crisis with their father. And Kim Porter herself, she was a model, an actress, known for her own grace and style. It's almost like she left them this blueprint for carrying yourself with confidence, which they seem to be drawing on now.
And the sources really pick up on how dedicated they are to keeping her memory alive. They share these powerful throwback photos, on her birthday, on the anniversary for passing.
Right.
It feels like more than just grieving. It's like an active way they connect to that source of strength, using her legacy as inspiration for their own composure.
Definitely. And beyond their mother's lasting influence, there's their immediate physical support. Their siblings, they're part of this larger family unit, older half-siblings, Quincy, Justin, Christian, Chance. And then their younger sister, Little Love, who was born just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and the sources mention that the twins have really stepped up,
Uh-huh.
been instrumental in trying to maintain some stability, especially for the younger ones like Love, during all this chaos. They're like the constants in the middle of the storm.
But that specific power of the twin bond that seems particularly vital here, they operate almost as a single unit in public. They share an Instagram account, right? They go to nearly every public event together. And their matching styles, like those Halloween costumes, become this constant visual symbol of their unity, their togetherness.
And that partnership is seen as maybe their biggest asset right now. The sources describe them as being each other's witness, strength, and partner through all this. It's like that mirrored presence creates this psychological buffer, and a public one too, against all the judgment.
What's also really clear from the material is they aren't just passively coping. They're not just surviving. They seem to be actively, almost aggressively, forging their own independent paths. Careers, identities, separate from the family name that's currently, well, under this dark cloud.
You definitely see that drive in their career moves. They're making names for themselves in the fashion world, which is notoriously tough. The sources point to some big achievements already walking runways for major houses. Dolce & Gabbana was mentioned.
Yeah, getting to that level professionally at 18, even before this latest crisis fully hit, says a lot about their ambition. And even earlier, things pointed to this focus on style as identity. Remember their prom. They attended in those matching black corseted gowns, already positioning themselves as style figures, separate from just being Diddy's daughters.
And it's not just the runway. They seem pretty savvy about networking, too, navigating that whole LA social scene.
Right. A good example the sources brought up was them attending Kylie Jenner's Kylie Cosmetics pop-up event. Now, that's not just, going to a party. That's strategic. It's about building influence, aligning themselves with major players in culture and business.
And how they posted about it was interesting, too. They shared a close-up shot, focusing not really on the party, but on their diamond necklaces, their matching bracelets. And the caption was, King Kylie. That feels very intentional, right? Signaling respect for a huge mogul, kind of positioning themselves within that same sphere of influence as serious players.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway, weaving all these sources together, is that this moment right now is absolutely crucial for them. They're basically fighting for the right to write their own story, using their visibility, their fashion choices as tools to show everyone they are independent women building their own future step by step, actively separating themselves from the legal drama.
So, stepping back and looking at the whole picture, Jessie and Delilah Combs managing to present themselves with such confidence and glamour right now.
Yeah.
It really is more than just a great Halloween costume. It feels like a powerful statement about their resilience, their twin bond, and this really sophisticated strategic use of style to navigate an incredibly difficult public narrative.
Exactly. And that leads us perfectly into our final thought, something for you, the listener, to consider after this deep dive. If style is being used here as a kind of armor, a tool to manage public perception during intense personal and family trauma, then what responsibility, if any, do we have as the audience? As the people consuming their posts, liking their pictures? Do we contribute to the narrative they're trying to build? Do we challenge it? How do we engage with it?
It's definitely something to think about, that complex mix of celebrity, style, trauma, and perception. Maybe keep it in mind the next time you see a public figure using fashion to define themselves, especially under pressure. Thanks for
Sure.
taking this deep dive with us.